So when asked to do a panel and put together something that would be relevant to other pit masters and people in barbecue, kind of thinking from Brad and I's perspective, okay, what would entice us to go? What do we think that friends and barbecue family would like to learn more about? It's basically, especially now, harder than ever to open up a restaurant, which has always, for years and years and years, been the go-to, it seems like, if you were on the competition trail or into barbecue or like to barbecue. And when we had the opportunity, when we won Made for KC, to have our restaurant out at the airport, we had the luxury, and I say luxury because we didn't have any money up front, seeing what all goes into running the restaurant and all the ins and outs and the workings and everything of that, and make lots of great contacts. And so many people that had restaurants, barbecue restaurants, were telling us, whatever you do, don't start a brick and mortar. This is like the hardest time right now, from an employee staffing standpoint to a sourcing standpoint for all these things. And then we're like, okay, well, what do we do now? So that kind of is where the idea of how do you, if you want to make barbecue a business, how do you do that without launching a brick and mortar restaurant or having a food truck even? Because that can be a big leap as well, and you can still face some of those same hurdles. So I invited our panel up here this morning that has all different kinds of experiences and backgrounds with not only the social media presence. One even runs like a business kind of council academy, and Amy will talk more about that here in a little bit. Leveraging brand ambassadorships or monetizing your social media, doing all those different aspects to help just funnel money into your brand and building your brand through that avenue. So let me introduce our panel today. So we have Misty Banchero here. She is a Seattle, Washington native. With a love affair of meat. She shares her story of Seattle meat man's wife on social platforms and is better known as the Seattle butcher's wife. Her marriage to a third-year generation meat family was a kickstart for her barbecue journey and shifted from her longtime career in the retail field of leadership through the pandemic, and her grilling passion became an obsession at that point through the pandemic. She combines her creative and engaging talents with her love of smoke and meat. Her mission is to share her journey and inspire more women to set up to grill. From live fire to pellet grill cook, she's learned tips and tricks to share and has created mouth-watering pictures and videos on social media. You can find this backyard barbecue boss traveling and participating in cooking events and festivals, and you can see her on local news sharing grilling and cooking tips, and you may even see her in like Texas or New York doing some judging for barbecue competitions. So this is Misty here for us. Our next, Amy Mills, a lot of you guys know her through the barbecue world. She's born and raised in the barbecue realm, and it says that she is the renowned, she's the owner and the renowned the barbecue destination 17th Street Barbecue. She is also the recipient of the Barbecue Heroine Prize and consistently named a leader in her industry. And her mission is to spread the gospel of barbecue. I love that, by the way. That's one of my favorite lines. She's considered a complete authority on barbecue and business, all business that surrounds it. So she is the behind-the-scenes lady and knows all the components of everything in the background. She runs the only barbecue business consultancy in the world, On Cue Consulting, and offers seminars and training focused on the culinary and business techniques behind great barbecue. She's a featured judge on various barbecue shows, such as Barbecue Network's Barbecue Brawl, Firemaster, Chop, Best in Smoke, Kingsford Invitational, and as well as the co-star of the Mills family-owned digital series Peace, Love, and Barbecue. She's co-authored with her dad, Mike Mills, book, or Mike Mills, affectionately known as the legend in the world of barbecue. Her cookbook, Peace, Love, and Barbecue, is considered a classic of the genre, and she was nominated for the James Beard Foundation Award. She won the National Barbecue Association Award of Excellence, and their second book, Praise the Lord, was published in May of 2017. The 17th Street Barbecue is headquartered in Murfreesboro, Illinois, and it's the barbecue capital of Illinois. And one of my favorite things was that Amy listed in here, that barbecue isn't just a way to cook, it's a Mills and 17th Street barbecue way of life, and in the late Mike Mills' own words, life's too short for a half rack. So, I love that. That was one of my favorites. Our next panelist is Megan Day. She's just a small town girl living in the barbecue dream, named one of Southern Living's most influential women in Southern barbecue. Megan Day is a pitmaster and co-owner of Kansas City Premier Barbecue Competition and Food Company. Since founding in 2008, Burnt Finger Barbecue has racked up countless awards on the competition barbecue circuit, including 15 state championship titles and many world championship sauce, rubs, sides, and meat titles. Megan is a chopped grill master champion and is regularly seen promoting barbecue on the Today Show and Food Network show like The Kitchen, Chop, Barbecue Brawl, Barbecue USA, and Beat Bobby Flay. Living in Lee Summit, Megan and her husband Jason have 2 junior teammates, Hank and Meredith, the Little Fingers. They have been to more barbecue events than most grown-ups can dream about. Hank and Meredith are both old enough to compete in Kids Q competitions and have their eyes set on the prize too. It's truly a family affair. So I asked these 3 ladies to be a part of the panel for various reasons. I want it to be very informal, so like if I ask a question and you guys have a question to piggyback off of that, please just raise your hand and let's do it in the moment, because if you're like me, you'll forget it if you're gonna try to hold it and save it for later. So I'd rather it just be genuine conversation and more laid back if everybody's good with that. Okay, let's see here. So let's start with, what strategies did you use to like grow your audience and establish like your brand identity and who you are? Let's start with you, Misty.
Well, most of my presence is on social media, so I'm not competing like you guys on the road and having those interactions. So I have to touch my audience through socials wherever I can. So I think one of my strategies was to build a community. Just like you guys have a community of barbecue family for your comp, there's also a social media barbecue fam. The hashtag barbecue fam is, you know, for barbecue people that like to share their recipes in their backyard or whatever on social media. So my first step was to make sure I'm connecting and finding the people that are playing the game. So if your team has a very active account, you're sharing your wins or whatever you're doing, your recipes, your meats, I have an interest in it. I might follow you and you follow me back and there's some engagement between us. That starts to build and build and build and grow. So the first part is letting your audience know who you are and making an active attempt to interact with them and to show them what you're doing. And that starts it off. And there's a lot more from there.
Thank you. Amy, how about you?
I was thinking about this question and going back to the days before social media, in the olden days. And
the 1900s.
In the 1900s. And this is actually the early aughts, before social media, the early aughts. But it really became about events and relationships. And so when I think about the trajectory of 17th Street and how we grew, you know, I'm sitting here because my dad went to Memphis in May all those years ago. But then another very big milestone in what we did in the barbecue world was helping found the Big Apple Barbecue Block Party. And so, again, this was all before Facebook, before Instagram, any of those things. And so the only way that you had to share was sharing your food with people who were visiting your area, but also meeting one another. And, you know, kind of on boots on the ground, really talking. It was not ever, a phone was never in sight. It was really just about conversation and meeting people and talking to them.
That networking is powerful,
Exactly.
for sure.
Yep.
Megan, how about you?
So the strategy, I mean, we're in crisis all the time. I mean, just the reality, because we started with a blog, bbqaddicts.com. We were Burnt Finger Barbecue, the competition team, and I am Megan Day, the pitmaster. So we're always trying to find that balance of how someone discovered us and making sure that either they're following the platforms that we're on or that they're identifying who we are with the products that we offer. So it is difficult, and I don't know that we have a strategy because we just lead with our heart and we go and we do what we feel is authentic, and we're going to find those authentic relationships. And so I think I need help with more on the strategies. I will firmly tell you that, because we're going to do things that really mean the most to us, and if there's some opportunity to actually monetize that, it's the bonus. And so I'm here to learn just as much.
Well, and growing
Yeah.
your audience, be it on social media
Yeah.
or in person, authentically,
Yeah.
is what you want
Slow.
to do. You want it to
It's
do
real
it
slow.
organically. You don't want to buy followers because they're going to be hit and miss. They're really not going to be loyal.
You have
to
no
you.
engagement.
They're not going to be engaged as much. You might get a handful that are.
Yeah.
But I know that was one of the recommendations we had been told back a while when we first started our social media pages is you want to grow organic.
Yeah.
You want to do it as organic as you can. Well, my next question would be, how can barbecue enthusiasts monetize their social media presence effectively? So that's the question, right? Like, we've got all these different social media platforms, mostly Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok are big ones for us. Don't do so much with X. I don't think so anyway. Though I haven't seen a lot in the barbecue realm on X. But like, how do you go about monetizing that? Do you need to get to like certain numbers? And then what do you look for? What do you need to be aware of? Megan, do you want to start with that one?
Well, so social media, gosh, it's such a fickle little thing, right? Because we put together a TikTok page. I don't understand the platform. I'll just be honest with you. Right? Like maybe you guys do and you get it. But I threw a bunch of videos up and then I did not check that thing for 2 years because it just wasn't my style. Instagram was more my style. I had a global audience. It was a lot more fun for me. And then one day someone said, I saw you on TikTok. I go, I ought to look at that. And I had a video at that point that had 1.6 million views on it. And like 2 or 3 other ones that had hundreds of thousands of views. And that one is now at 3 million views, and the other ones are continuing to grow. Yet I just I feel it more as a vanity than I feel like it's really converting anything for us. And so I don't put a lot of energy into it because I haven't figured out how to monetize it. Because I know, even though we have millions of views on some of these, I don't have 10,000 plus followers. So there's a game that you have to play. If you don't have enough followers, you can't monetize it. And so as many times as I've done the national television and those things, we're still not growing organically. I'm here to learn as much. But again, Misty's the queen over here. She is the queen. Yeah, you have a question.
Do you use a LinkedIn on your Instagram or Linktree on your Instagram or?
I mean, I have LinkedIn, but I don't know.
I didn't know
Linktree.
Linktree.
With all your
Yeah.
information.
Yes. I mean, link trees are part of what you can do because then someone can come to it. And I'm even hearing now that that's almost kind of antiquated, that you really have to have the instant chat so that if you type in a certain word, then it sends it right to you into their inbox so they don't have to go to a separate page. I mean, it's always evolving. That's the thing with it. So, as far as, I don't know, is anyone in here doing threads? Is threads
I'm on
thing?
threads.
What
yeah,
are you doing now?
Yeah, I'm like, Misty is. I'm like,
yeah.
I'm on it, and I respond.
I have to
but
say, the voice of threads, the things that I see people posting, because it baits you, right? It's like, hey, they're talking about this on threads. You want to play? I kind of like some of the things I'm seeing that people are posting on threads. It's a little bit different voice than even TikTok and what Instagram is. So I'm curious about that platform.
And Amy, what kind of stuff do you guys do as far as that goes on social media wise for monetizing?
So we have a couple things monetized. I think the cautionary tale is that, like, if I was relying on any of those things to eat, I would be very thin right now because they're all building blocks to your business.
Yeah.
There's not any one thing that is like taking off or I'm getting a ton from that. But I'm also not trying to because all of that is to augment our restaurant business or our online business. So for me, I'm using that vehicle in a different way. I will say that, and I know that Missy will have a very different answer and a different take on this since she is doing many more paid things, but we do some paid things, we do some sponsored things, but again, very little because I don't have that's not my full-time job. I don't have the time or the team to put into creating all of those things. So I'll do it for the right price, for the right thing. But I think that I'm getting much more by just tagging people who are my natural partners anyway. And it's not that they've always paid me money to tag them or to do something, but I'm tagging somebody because I like them and I use their products. They're my partner in some other way. They sponsor our cook-off. You know, it's that community that I've built around us, and so they will always be naturally.
Yeah, the monetization isn't the platform paying me. The monetization is when someone discovers and wants to work with me on something, and then there's an expectation that you're letting people know you're working with those organizations or those brands or that festival. So I mean, really, I can't say this is how. There's no direct, but you gotta have it.
Right.
You gotta have it.
All right, Miss Misty.
Get your notes out.
So if you came here today, I hope that you have intentions of maybe using social media more to grow your brand. But what I do see is that everyone uses it a little bit differently. So understanding what you need to get out of it before you even start your strategy is probably the most important thing. So by the way, if you find me at Seattle Butcher's Wife on Instagram and send me a DM and you just want to chat with me, I'm happy to give you more information specifically of what I've learned over the years on what might help you. So for instance, like she is supporting her business. This is an extra. This is a piece to continue the recognition and to get an audience growth and potential sales and etc. There's other people that might be a team that just wants to get more sponsors, just wants a little bit more money in the bag when they want to go on these fancy trips and enter all of these contests. So if that's what you want, I have some ideas for you there too. But so know what you want before you go in. And for me, this came out of the blue. It was never my mission. I didn't put together all of the steps to become an influencer. In fact, I don't even like that word, to tell you the truth. It's weird. But what happened was I started sharing. And what I realized was that what I am sharing, whether it's a simple backyard, easy peasy recipe that anyone can do, I'm using materials, I'm using rubs, I'm using grills, I'm using charcoal, whatever it is, I'm using a product. And so what I'm providing for my audience can also help those brands that are trying to show off their product. And basically I call it show and tell. I'm happy to show and tell for you. If it makes sense for me and I like what I'm working with and it can benefit both of us, I can be a marketing tool. And I can do it with what you said earlier in a genuine way, because I'm not just doing this for a show. I'm not in a commercial. I actually really love being barbecuing, and I love just learning new techniques and working with new products, and it's fun for me. So I think that having an authentic, genuine approach whenever you want to work with a brand is always going to be number one. And also when you're talking and communicating with brands, really letting them know in a bullet point specific way of how you can help them, because if they want to pay you money, they need to know how it's going to benefit them, and so you're not going to just say, I think we should really work together. I got 75,000 followers. That doesn't matter. And there is a difference, and I wanted to know between the followers and the fans.
Mm-hmm.
My husband always says that it doesn't really matter, because especially when I first started, he'd be like, oh, it doesn't really matter. I go, this girl has way more followers than I do. How do I get there? And the difference between followers and fans is followers are going to be those ones where you see the what we call food stunts, squeezing the brisket and the juice all comes out and all those silly things. You guys are professionals, so you're probably rolling your eyes and go, come on, but we still look at it. It's still interesting. People are still scanning, or they're sharing it with a friend because it's corny, or why are they doing that? Every once in a while.
Remarkable content. You remark on the content.
Exactly. So it gets engagement, but it may not end in a sale. Maybe you have a rub that you're working on, and you want to show the world your rubs and your sauces. Well, you might have to do a couple of those stunty things to open up your audience, but the real people that are going to buy into you. They're going to buy into your recipes, your energy, your enthusiasm. So I think about barbecue teams. I think about when I was growing up. My mom was one of those ladies who always took all the pictures before social media. She'd go to 1 hour photo and get doubles so everyone had a copy. It was just so funny like that. And I didn't realize it, but I probably became that mom too. I love to take pictures, and they were always that good. I capture all the kids' memories, all of that. So this, and being able to take photos of food, and then I was in retail, so I understood lighting and all the ways to, before when Instagram wasn't reels and videos, it was just photos. That's all. To tell a story and get started through photos alone, it was something I was just naturally good at. So, you can tell a story through photos, and you can share your passion. And what happens with brands, just like she said, if you're tagging the people you're already partnering with, sometimes those people you're tagging will share them in the stories, and then their followers see it, and you start getting kind of an audience. But the people that are really going to be the difference between the fans and the followers, those followers are looking for the next silly thing that you post so they can share with their friends. Those fans are looking like, oh, Seattle Butcher's Wife just came out with this, I want to try it. You know, I've been watching her, we've made a few of those recipes, it's pretty cool. Like, they see me in my community or at events, and it's sort of like a loyalty thing. When I buy products, you know, I might buy a product because I really like that guy that I met and I want to give his product a shot. You know, I know she has good product. I know she has great product. I've been able to, you know, try all of my
Misty has
friends.
been kind enough to use
In
our
the
products.
beginning,
Exactly.
yeah, like I'll totally try it and show and tell as much as I can. And when it comes to monetization and how it all started with like one company saying, I'd like to pay you $500 for a recipe. And I thought, wow, I'm like not even a professional chef. How does this even happen? Holy crap, you know, and then after one, it was really good on their page, so they wanted to do more with me. And I'm like, wow, this is okay, cool. Like, so if you can manage your time and you can create content that is clean, I do everything on an iPhone. I don't have a professional editor. I do my editing on my phone. I use an app called InShot. It's like, I don't know, $10 a month.
InShot. That's my favorite.
You know,
That's my favorite.
And people have said, I really like following you because your content is approachable. I'm like, okay, thanks. You know, it's not pro, but there's a reason that they feel like they can do it. So that's my thing. You may have a different approach. You know, and I am enamored by the world of competition barbecue. I see the work that goes into it. And I will tell you, like, if this community starts sharing a little bit more, the rest of the world, including the Pacific Northwest area where we're not known for BBQ so much, they will start to see, you know, the impact and the, you know, exciting, all of that. There's a lot of work that you guys do in testing recipes. Whoa, whoever thinks about this when they go to a comp and just try a rib? Like, you have no idea what's behind the scenes.
It's a full week.
There's
worth
a
of prep.
huge-
It's a full week.
Like you can't see the forest for the trees,
Yeah.
right? We don't know that that's interesting because
Yeah.
it's just what we do.
Yeah.
But even thinking about in the early days of competition barbecue, nobody took pictures, nobody shared secrets,
Yeah.
nobody told
You're
anybody
tight-lipped,
anything.
yeah.
Very, very. And I don't even think it was tight-lipped. It was just, who am I going to tell you what to do? It was maybe even more just being humble, like you know. And then there was a few who were like they want to give it out and give it away. But if you ask the right question, people were willing to give you the information. But it wasn't. The story wasn't being told.
Yeah, it's time to tell it.
Well, and I think that there's an art to that too, right? The storytelling in and of itself and making it interesting, because especially on social media, you have to grab their attention. You have like less than 2 seconds to do that. And so I think that that's important as well. Like, I've noticed some of our, what I thought was gonna be great content, I'm like, why is this falling flat? Why aren't we getting the interaction that I thought we would see with this? All I had to do was change the profile picture that they saw at the very beginning, and then boom, and then it takes off. So it's the little things, and
Yeah.
Misty is a wealth of knowledge
Well,
on
and-
that. Josh, you have a question?
So timing, I've always heard timing has a lot to do with it too, and how you do post, and there's programs that are out there that will help you with Facebook and Instagram and posting of certain things, but there's certain times of the day that's gonna get you more eyes on what you're looking at, or whatever the case is. What are your thoughts on that?
9 to noon is like the recommended time in the morning, or 9 to noon is like the recommended for almost every account.
What-
And all you have to do is look
what
at your
time
own. Your
All
own,
of
your
them.
own
Your
time.
own.
Your
Yeah,
own.
your own.
Yeah, but all you have to do is look at your own insights to see when you have the most audience. There's tools on Instagram is what I'm speaking to primarily, and even TikTok and all. They show you when you have the most people looking at your account. So you just
Well,
use that as a tool.
I think, is it Instagram, I think, just started with their insights telling you how many people viewed in the first 3 seconds. Like,
Yes.
that's now something that they're giving you that information. So it's kind of that A/B testing, where if that particular thing didn't hit in the first 3 seconds, rework it and repost it,
Yeah.
so that you can get that hit within the first 3 seconds.
Yeah.
I mean,
Also,
they're trying to help you. They want you to put stuff out that keeps people on their platforms. They're trying to help.
The
Yes.
time,
Yes.
I think, is important, but it's also less important because of the algorithm. So anybody who interacts with my posts is going to get fed my post
Yeah.
because they're a super fan. So they're going to show up like that. It might be harder for organic posting, but like if something happens, if I've worked all day on something and I'll post it at 11 o'clock at night, because somebody's going to see that when they wake up in the morning. I'm not being a slave to
Right.
to that.
And you can schedule a lot of them too, but then like, so I'm really picky on that, and maybe I just don't know, but like, if you cross-platform stuff, like if you schedule it on one platform and it pushes it out Facebook and Instagram, those tags don't always follow across both platforms, and that drives me crazy. So then I gotta go back over there, otherwise I'm losing out. So like, what are your takes on all of that?
I don't plan mine.
I don't either, because of that.
No,
but
if you
okay.
if you hire someone to do it for you, usually they do, and sometimes it is or is not very effective. And I see a lot of people, not even just teams, but just hiring someone to do some editing. And you can see they're probably using CapCut, which is another really popular, more current editing app for videos, where things are flashy and you got the little header over the top that makes you kind of stop for a minute and pause and go, wow, so they must have hired someone, because that doesn't look like my friend what they normally post. But when they get that going, they usually see a little more traffic, and I don't schedule it for those exact same reasons.
Okay.
Not everything transfers, and I'm sure there are people that do it successfully, so I shouldn't say it does not work, it just hasn't worked for me.
Couple comments. One, I'd love to praise Amy for her Sunday sermons.
Yes, and
I do get up at 5:45 every Sunday and post
love
that.
that.
I don't know where you get your inspiration for that. That's awesome. AI. Where does AI play, or does it play a role in your social game?
ChatGPT, yeah. We'll throw stuff in and ask it questions to help us generate content ideas.
Or generate help captions.
Captions.
Yeah.
There's opportunities there. I mean, you still have to massage it and put it in your voice, but I mean, I think there's a lot that can be done.
I do not use it at all.
It's
And
exciting to me.
my husband wants to use it, and I was like, no, I'm leaving it, it's all me, and includes the spelling error sometimes.
But sometimes that spelling error is what gets you engagement.
They're gonna tell you about it.
There's a lady that I used to follow, and she will tell you, the hands and pans videos, like where it's just the hands and the pans, right? That's all she's doing. She did that for a very big company for a very long time. And then she decided to kind of go out on her own and do some things. And she discovered that if she dropped something, she would get massive engagement. And so she kind of became the queen of corny, dropping, but it was genuinely her. But they kept that in, and now she's got book deals and a TV show, and I'm not going to tell you who it is. You'll figure it out if you know who this person is. She's blowing up, and it's 100% because
And you're relatable.
And
Because
very
because
relatable.
every one
Like
of
she'll
us
go
do that
to
kind of
do
stuff.
something, her elbow hit the spoon, and the rice will fly, and you just go, oh my gosh, this poor girl,
But it's for
right?
the same reason that when you see the guy squishing and the cheese
The
falls
brisket,
over, and they
yes.
put the sauce, and I've done that a few times here, where the sauce
Yeah.
is a ridiculous amount, because someone's gonna say, what is she doing?
So, yeah, so one of the things when I went through training to be on the Home Shopping Network, the difference between an interview when you're talking with someone on a TV show and doing something for the Home Shopping Network and you're my customer and I'm talking to you is a completely different vibe. But the biggest thing was make there be motion. Everything had to have motion. The turning to show the chicken wing, pulling of the chicken apart. Like when you're doing these things, don't just dump something, give it motion. Stir it so that the camera picks up the slosh. Whatever it is, motion is so important. And I think just doing those little tweaks will give you, someone goes, oh man, did you see that? That is something that I'm trying to do more of in some of the videos that we take. I mean, I had the training, I gotta use it, right?
Well, it's hard when you're on the fly too.
Yeah.
One thing I want to add to that motion is that what I've learned, and if you really look at the accounts that have a lot of followers, and they are maybe your favorite accounts probably, the motion comes from the actual cooking or content, what you're showing. It is not the camera that's constantly moving.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? So, and that's something that if you love filming, you're naturally like, looking around and zooming your camera all over. It's not always steady. You guys always, try to be as still as you can, but after watching a few of those flyovers, it's like, okay, I'm kind of dizzy, I don't want to watch this anymore. So the ones that are really good is if you can manipulate your cameras into different positions or have those easy off, like magnetic. This would be perfect for you guys, and in the middle of your work and you're showing that stuff would be to have the MagSafe magnet, so you just pop your phone right off and on instead of clicking. It takes too long sometimes in putting it on the tripod and turning anything. because there's that moment. Once you slice it, you got to get that footage before it starts looking a little dry. You got to capture the moment, you got to act fast, or even having 2 cameras if you're lucky and you can afford to do that.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Invest in
John?
yourself.
Yeah.
Kind of a silly question maybe, but voiceover versus live verbal.
That depends on your voice. Do you have a voice that makes people want to listen?
Yeah.
Because some of those voiceovers, I think, man, if I have to hear this guy anymore, I don't want to hear. But you got to tell the story, and sometimes fast, and sometimes there's no way, 1 minute or less. Like probably 1 minute is pushing it now. So if you're doing a reel on Instagram, is what I'm speaking to specifically. If you can speak quickly and give more information in a way that will help the viewer understand what you're doing, then you can standing there, because by the time I've cooked and I put away things, like, it takes too long. If I try to do those, I hardly ever have myself going, today we're going to do a brisket. I just do a voiceover because I know I can clip and edit and make it shorter, and then just quickly recap what I did.
And that's an opportunity to test. So do some each
Yeah.
way and see
Yeah.
what people resonate, what
Yeah.
resonates.
Well, and for us, sometimes
my
it's-
hardest part of even a little bit that I even do, but was to try, in my mind, I think I'm gonna do a 90-second video. It's gonna, I'm gonna be able to share how to do this whole thing in 90 seconds, and then I'm like, I gotta edit 14 minutes off this thing.
Yeah, exactly.
To turn it into content.
Yeah.
How the heck do I,
So,
Exactly.
And I'm probably not the normal, I guess, but the videos that go like 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, just boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
It's almost ADD-ish to me, but it's what everybody's doing right now, so I don't.
Well, that's why you have to figure out who your audience is maybe that isn't your audience. Maybe that's not who you're getting after. Because those you might get a lot of views.
You need a
but you might not
YouTube
get a lot of
channel.
business.
It's to go the longer.
Yeah.
Well, I think, to your point too, is if you can find your style and what is working with your audience, then you can do the longer form and direct them to something where you want to learn more, or give me feedback that you want to learn more about this and this specific process. Then you can do a video just kind of take there's so much gold in your phones you don't even realize.
for sure.
So you could then do a follow-up post of just one section that someone wanted to know more about. But you're giving them appetizers, right? You want them to to buy teasers to get in and follow you, and you become an expert in their world. So no matter what you do, that to me is your ultimate goal, is for people to then want to learn more about what you're doing. And that's where I think the monetization can come in, because then they're either buying your products or whatever you do. Like you said, the fans. The fans are the ones who are really gonna
They sign up.
sign up. Yeah,
They subscribe.
yeah.
And John, for us, sometimes it depends on when we shot the video, what other noise is going on in the background. If there's a radio playing, if there's somebody else who's walking up, hey guys, like I'm gonna cut that out. Or if
Large dog.
Brad's bleeping, making different comments we may not want on the video, I'm gonna knock the sound out of it, and then we're gonna do a voiceover, just so we can still use the video. Aaron?
So to that, Megan, you kind of mentioned to directing to more of a longer form. And maybe this is more for Missy. Are you seeing different platforms from a standpoint of monetization, right? Instagram, I understand, is not really a good platform to monetize. You're not getting any monetization in Instagram. You're getting it from YouTube. And so you're taking those shorter clips, putting that on to drive people to the other platforms that are allowing you that monetization and that longer form directive, right? I think TikTok allows up to 10 minutes. Instagram allows 1.5 minutes. So you don't get the longer videos on Instagram. You're just trying to get your fans to follow the other platforms as well, right?
Yeah,
Is that,
if you're a full-time creator and all you care about is like just making money on the platforms and trying to get brand deals, then that probably matters. To be honest, like even during peak times when I've had viral videos a couple of years ago when Instagram was paying creators, it still wasn't enough to make it worth it. Like nothing. It was like, you're kidding me. This is silly. And I had friends that made a lot of money on Facebook because they had a time there where all of a sudden they were doing a bonus deal. But this is the thing that I really feel strongly about, and especially for you guys, you have your own business, you have your own brand, you have your own team. You don't need to rely on those platforms to pay your bills because it never adds up anyways for the amount of time and energy you give. What you do want to do is try to find sponsors that will help you supplement whatever you're doing, or to find ways to get your brand out to be able to sell your products that you're creating. That's like the home base.
Well, and that leads into my next question, which I was wanting to ask. So advice that you guys have for securing ambassadorships or partnerships with major brands, like you were saying earlier, you got to bring something to the table. It's got to be a true partnership. And like, how do you even get the contacts to reach out to those people so that you're getting in front of the right people?
So I think it is very difficult to get barbecue brands to pay. And some of my people that I have spent the most money with and have referred the most people to, sometimes it's like pulling teeth to get money back from them. But what you can get, and what we get and are very grateful for, are, it's coming back to us in another way. Mm-hmm. So I'm not ever, like someone, Old Hickory is never going to pay me to demo their pit on Instagram. But they're going to sponsor us in 1,000 other different ways. I'm just using them. I'm just not trying to call you out, Old Hickory. I love you. I'm just using that as an example. It's very difficult. Then you can turn around and you can go to a consumer products company like Kingsford. Kingsford does pay, but Kingsford has a group of people that a stable who, they're not necessarily adding to that stable of people who they pay. I mean, Chris Lilly is the #1 Kingsford guy. And he's out there with Jason Kelsey right now doing some fabulous things. And they have very deep pockets and they understand the world of marketing and advertising and media. So it's all multimedia at this point. It's just not even advertising. Omni-media. So it's hard to find people who will do that. So I think the way to start is by you see every barbecue team now is sponsored by, and that mostly means those people are using those products, so they've given you those products to use. But when you are giving back to them with content and content they can use, that makes you much more attractive to them. So that is the payoff. So it's not even that you're tagging them in something, but you're tagging them in a piece of content that's good that they want to share, and you are just being that very loyal person to them.
I DM companies. I DM them and say, hey, I'd love for you to see the things that we're doing. Here's where I've used your product because I genuinely enjoy it. Do you already have an established program? If not, let's chat and we can maybe put something together when we work together. I don't want to assume that they don't already have some kind of a program. And if they don't, I want to help them, introduce them to our audience. And it's fun to see what comes back. Does it always end up with dollars in my pocket? Absolutely not. But if it's not going to work with me, maybe I can be a resource for them to find somebody else. So just being a servant to the community is important to me, is actually putting money in my pocket.
And thinking outside the box, and it doesn't necessarily have to be the charcoal, the pit, the thermopane, the whatever. What else are you using? What else are you doing? Is it, for a while there were a lot of, I can't even think of the name of that, Duluth.
Oh yes, well Duluth, okay, so I'll tell you,
Okay.
I DM'd Duluth. This was probably 2012, 2013, maybe 14, anyway, some long time ago. And I just said, hey, love your stuff, love to wear it. We're gonna be doing some fun things and it'd be cool to be wearing stuff on stage. 9 boxes of product showed up at my door.
The Duluth stuff?
Duluth,
Yeah.
for Jason, for my kids, for me, for some of our teammates, and not a single request for, can you please use this language to talk about it. They just were so excited. So what I do is every time I'm on stage and I'm wearing Duluth, I shoot a picture and go, hey, doesn't it look good on that Memphis in May, or doesn't this look great on the Today Show?
Yeah.
Or because I want them, even though it was many, many years ago. So like I had a little, I wanted a raincoat, and I just said, any chance you guys have a raincoat that, and they were like, yes, here's the 3 different styles. Like they've just been really good to me because I let them know that they're on the stage with us. You know?
Shameless plug, will you do that to every major turkey company?
Yeah.
I've been trying to beg them to do that with you also.
Well, but reached out to us many years ago and said, will you do something with us at the American Royal? And again, boxes and boxes of different types of turkey showed up into our, and we just went around and like, hey, you guys want some turkey? Hey. I mean, and it was such a cool relationship. And, you know, those types of opportunities, don't be afraid to use your position to at least notify them that this world exists.
And if
Be
nothing else,
humble
it
enough.
starts networking
Yes,
too.
be
It might not
humble
be a
enough to
moment,
know that it
but
may not
in the
be you
future.
that's the fit, and be willing to be the resource for them to find the right fit. Because ultimately, if we can be, and show up clean, would you please show up clean when you're working with these brands? That's the one thing I hear that's so fascinating to me. And they're like, well, this person, you know, well, we couldn't get them to respond, or they didn't. Just be there for them. But I think more than anything is being a resource, because if we can continue to put ourselves as professionals in this and don't look so desperate, please don't look so desperate. Be excited for them and know that you might not be the right fit.
Totally.
Yeah. Do it for the team. Take one for the team.
What was the question again?
It was, oh, okay. No, go ahead, about securing those ambassadorships and partnerships, and how do you go about even getting in front of the right people and
Yeah.
knowing what to say once you're there?
Right. Well, I think what you want to remember is that anything that you would do for any brand is like, it benefits the brand. Like you are, you know, it's not just because you want to be famous. It's like, if I do this for you, I'm helping you. So I think if you just go in with that mindset with all of your conversations, whether it's a pitch, just like Megan, sometimes there's brands, I've always wanted to work with Yeti. Like I love everything Yeti. It's so expensive. I haven't been able to afford all the pieces. But one example might be like, over the last 4 years, I might send them like one little DM every year or something and say, hey, do you have any open spots? Because I'd love to be able to show you all your product, and I can find some ways, and I have some ideas. You know, and sometimes they get back to me and it's always the same thing. Oh, we're not doing any partnerships right now. That's fine. You know, I'm not going to cry about it. But eventually, there might be a spot that opens up and something happens. And recently something happened with that. I'm like, that's so amazing, because sometimes one door shuts and another door opens. I wanted a vacuum sealer. I mean, my husband's, you know, at the meat shop, we have a USDA meat processing facility in Seattle. So we do thousands and thousands of pounds of meat out of there. We serve restaurants. We do private label products. Like, I'm not really like a lady at the butcher shop. Like, it's much bigger than this, right? So for me, I wanted my own vacuum sealer that made sense for me when I got these big chunks and I'm doing all this barbecue stuff. Who's going to eat all this meat? And I share with my neighbors. So I reached out forever to this one company that you guys all know. And they said no so many times. I was like, oh man, don't they know? Like, I could just show the regular common household that this is a great tool. Duh. And then eventually, a year later or so, I don't know, I got an opportunity. I met them at a competition. It was in Memphis in May. And we built a relationship. And then it was like an ongoing partnership where I was, you know, able to be paid monthly for producing some content. And I'm like, wow. So sometimes when things don't work out, it's okay. You can't take it personally. You can look at their page and go, I could have done that better. Yeah, but really it's like, you know, when it's a right fit, it will work out. And another tip I would say, if I'm thinking about barbecue competition teams, is there someone on that team that can be your spokesperson and that maybe has some time? Because, you know, they don't have to be in every single video. They don't have to be like going off on their own necessarily. Like I broke away and was, oh, Butcher's Wife, forget the meat company. Yeah. But, you know, can they be that face? Because if you can create content that they would want to post on their page, then you're probably going to have an opportunity, if you do it well, to be able to get some income from that, especially larger companies that can afford you. And don't be surprised. Sometimes I had recently like a small farmer offer a huge, you know, pay for just a small couple posts that I would have never ever anticipated. So sometimes that can happen too. But if you have someone who is your spokesperson, they have energy, enthusiasm, you go to the page, I'm just going to use ThermoWorks, you know, as an example. They go to that page and see what's being posted on that page. Okay, I think I can do something like that, because we use this product all the time. And I know they don't pay, they're not really a good example, but let's just say they did. Yeah. And then you do a video or you do a post just like what you see on their page and they really like it, then they know that you can add value to their page. You can be a marketing tool for them. So why wouldn't they invest in you?
And someone sharing your content and you getting some new followers from that,
Heck yeah,
is,
on top of that.
is totally, may I add one
Go
more
for
thing
it,
to
yes.
this? And this is sort of like a flip side thing, but when people do come to you for sponsorship, you want to be sure, as Mike Mills would say, you got to dance with the one what brung you.
Yeah.
And there have been so many times when there's been a meat company once who came and they were trying to get into barbecue in a big way, and they were going to give us $5,000 for our contest and then X thousand all year, and you were going to do all these things, and we said no. And it was so hard to say no, but I'm never quitting Wichita Packing, who's right there with me in good times and bad, right? So, I see some very well-known people doing a lot of flip-flopping, and people don't think people don't notice that, because they totally notice it, and they talk smack about you when you're a flip-flopper. So it might be good for that short-term gain, but I will tell you that that big meat company is not doing all those programs anymore, but I'm still getting all my service and everything that I'm getting from my people. So just like the relationship is premier, and it's everything. So just don't forget about the relationship.
And being genuine about you endorsing the product and using the product, and you need to like it. You'll be able to be more effective for them also as well, and not just because they're kicking back something for you.
And there's value in everything, obviously. Like from a social media standpoint, there's value in loyalty. I mean, if you like Traeger's, I'm looking to see any faces. If you like Traeger, you can say, okay, I follow Benny Kendrick. He doesn't cook on anything else, all Traeger's. But he has a great following. He has he's sustained his income from it. He's an important person in their brand. He's doing his thing. And then you can go to someone else. And quite honestly, I like to go to someone who's using multiple pits. I want to see all the things. I want to even see reviews because I'm curious about what's new on that one, And so there's kind of an audience for everything. Loyalty pays off, and I'm totally about loyalty if it's something, that is something I'm actually using all of the time. But I also think like exploration, like it was really hard for me to partner with any meat brands knowing that I could just get meat for my husband and our family business. But I also want to support local ranchers, or if it's just a recipe idea that I have, I need to be able to sustain my income so that I can keep sharing free recipes with the world. So sometimes you got to do a little give and take if you're just fully a creator.
John, you had a question?
Yeah, so kind of piggybacking off that, just want to be a little bit comical, but staying loyal, but being able to support multiple, let's go with rubs, okay? Having friends, 4 or 5 in the room right now that have different rub lines. How can I support Josh and do content with him without man-made getting pissed off because I'm not using his this week,
I feel like rubs and open field.
That's an open field.
By the way, Brad and
totally
Reed
use
had
all
fun
those.
too,
Yeah, I think because you don't use my steakhouse seasoning on fish, but you might use fin and feathers on fish. I mean, you know what I mean? Like there's room for everyone on the shelf.
And I like to just play.
Yes.
That's like I have all brands in our
I
package.
think where you can get in trouble is if you're like, this is the best, don't use anything else. If you're giving absolutes and then all of a sudden you're using somebody else's and you're like, wait, what happened to this is the best? Because guess what? They all are, we're really good cooks in this room. People have really good flavor profiles. So give us all a follow. Try all of our stuff. Share it. It doesn't have to just be paid.
So I used the home style JD's sweet, spicy.
Yeah. but
It's okay to tag them all. Like,
Yeah.
I don't take offense.
No,
Never.
and tag the store that you bought it
Shout
from,
out.
or
Yeah.
whatever. That's different.
I'm in line with Misty as far as like the types of grills. We have 14, 15, I don't even know what we're up to now at the house. And they're all different, and people ask all the time, which one's your favorite? Well, it depends on what we're cooking, how much attention I want to pay to it. Like how long, is this an all day we're out at the pool kind of day? Or is this, I don't really want to pay attention to that because I'm doing something inside. Am I going to put it on the pellet smoker? Like, there's a time and place for all of them. And we have our go-tos, like our top 4 or 5 maybe that we are consistently going to, but all of them get the love. All of them get cooked on, and we love them all for their unique reasons. So
And then that gives you 15 different things to make content about.
Right,
They all
right.
say this, and this is why I love it.
You know, and I don't know, I mean, I'd love to hear from a brand on whether or not, like, does that upset them? I mean, because, listen, if someone's gonna come at me and say there's exclusivity, they better pay a lot.
Well, I think that's when it is. So I have been on shows where Chris Lilly has been asked to put on something that's not Kingsford, and he won't.
Yeah.
So, but that's a very different thing,
Yes.
I think. Are they paying you?
Yes.
I'm going to tell somebody opening a restaurant I would have nothing but an Old Hickory. But at my house, I have all those other grills
Yeah.
too, and I use them all
Yeah.
the time. So
Application.
I think you're never going to be able to say these are my 10 brands and I do nothing except with
Absolutely.
these people.
To pipe onto the tagging, someone said about tagging, I know that brands, oftentimes they won't share it if you have multiple of the same brands in that.
So
So
categorically?
sometimes if I'm cooking and I know I'd like to just give a shout out to someone, an unpaid, maybe a friend that gave you a sauce or something, that I'll try to take a segment of that video and just do that sauce specifically, and maybe the grill, because they don't really compete, but I'm talking about sauces and rubs and what could feel like competition. I have this one friend who always posts, and she puts every single brand into the video and into her stories, and I just think, too bad. She's kind of, I don't want to tell her, but she's doing a little disservice to herself.
Are you using like mods or something to line match like the best hashtags or the best?
No. When I first started, all my friends were like, how do we find it? And they're like using it. I'm like, no. Because just like we talked about, like the organic
I
reach
think
is probably the
organic
best.
always works the best.
Yeah.
There's
Well,
so many
you
tools.
can start typing them in and it'll show you how many thousands
Yeah.
or whatever it is too. I just kind of play around with that sometimes.
I do too.
I'll start with like BBQ and then see what the list is and be like, oh, I want to go with that one because that one's more. I don't know, but that's kind of how I do it. Aaron?
Well, I wanted to add, I know Megan was saying you want to hear from brands. And as a brand that does sponsorship and ambassadorship for teams with lines and rubs, sauces, ejections, and all of that, I think I've used the analogy, obviously NASCAR every car is plastered with brands. And there's a lot of rubs, there's a lot of sauces, and there's a lot of brands within this space that have very specific niche product, one or two product within. Got a couple rubs, right? Josh has 3 rubs. He currently doesn't have any sauces, injections, glazes, all of that stuff. But so it's like if you're taking Cosmos and Keith Riles, who have essentially the same thing, it'd be like taking a Miller Lite sponsorship and a Bud Light sponsorship and saying, hey, I like both of these.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put both in my car. Those brands aren't going to like that. It doesn't mean that you can't support all of those brands, and it's not that you can't go out and do that, but if you're looking for, we talk about the loyalty, right? If you're looking for the ambassadorship, then being careful with the brands that you're bringing together, I think is important, right?
If you're doing it as a partnership or ambassadorship.
Right,
but like
absolutely.
if you're just shooting a reel
if you're
and
wanting
tagging
to
your friends
be out
stuff,
there and
that's
help
if it's
create
okay.
content,
Yeah,
you want to
yeah.
share with your friends,
Yeah.
there's no big deal there. But when you're starting to
Right.
get something in return for
right.
being a brand partner, then there is that loyalty piece that comes in, and
And it's up
not
to
this-
you to set that expectation.
Absolutely,
You have
absolutely,
to set that.
If you've been
absolutely.
burned a few times, you will have
Yes.
a parameter.
For sure, no, and I will tell you, maybe I'm the tiny fish in the world, so it's understanding and being burned in the past and doing that. It's why I have a very set process and try to follow through with that, because if I use this rub on this product and why didn't you sponsor me? There's reasons, right? We're all businesses, we have our dollars, and we only have so many of them to invest, and it's trying to get that return. How do you get bigger exposure with the dollars that you're using? And that, as a brand, for myself anyway, is one of the things that I look at.
One last question. I know we're at the end of our time. I just thought of it though. What are your thoughts around ads on social media, be it YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and like if you do have a product or your brand or something that you're trying to sell, placing an ad for that on those platforms, beneficial, not beneficial? I mean, it's not organic necessarily, depends on how you, I guess, set it up and who your audience you're targeting and geographic area and that kind of thing, but what are your thoughts on
I think
that?
that you have to have, you can't just throw 1 or 2 ads out there and that's going to be it. You have to make a big commitment to some money, some longevity, a strategy, and you have to keep feeding the beast with fresh content for those ads. And it totally is doable, but it's a long game. And you have to really know, like, I'm now in the paid, I'm paying for this, and you have to keep at it. You can't give up, like, when nothing happens in the first 3 weeks, you can't say, well, that was a waste. You have to keep going with that. I would love to hear Mike McLeod's take on that, since that's his world.
Is that your world?
We have another hour. No, I think what you're talking about is much more valuable. I'd rather be working with ambassadors and content creators.
That's why you don't see any of us doing ads.
Well, and that's what I was asking, but somebody else had asked us.
Yeah, but even like, I mean, there's certain brands that I've worked with and, you know, I'm like, should I put #ad? Do I need to tell people that I'm, like, you paid me for this? Like, I think that's important, you know? And then they'll be like, oh yeah, we probably should do that. So I'm looking at it from the standpoint of like paid content that's put out, not necessarily an ad or a banner or something like that. There's a fine line there, and I don't know, is it the FTC that can come down on you?
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Yes.
let me tell you, you know, don't.
So
For
careful.
sure, you have to do
And
that.
What is your thought, Misty?
Instagram has a really good system of recognizing what they think even could be ads. So when I've had several posts that weren't ads. They were just like
Yeah, they'll
me
say you
sharing
need to-
something.
Yeah.
They're like, it looks like you need to identify this as an ad.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff out there. When I'm negotiating with a brand and I want to post, I'm making sure that, you know, I'm way more comfortable not posting it as an ad and not clicking the paid partnership deal, because it kind of sinks your post when you do that, sadly.
Yes, it does.
But if it's the right thing to do and that the brand is paying me and that's, you know, they want to follow, they don't want to get in trouble, I'm following whatever they do. So it really just depends on the relationship there, and if it's an ongoing series of things, like if I have a grill that I'm going to show every 2 weeks for 6 months, then it's not an ad, it's an ongoing, I'm using it, we're going, and it doesn't matter if they're paying me, because I'm tying recipes and some other things and it's just there.
Fine.
But if you're just showing like, here, Duke's mayonnaise ad, and this looks really good on my summer barbecue, then you're gonna have to make sure you're establishing that and showing your audience that it's a paid ad. And anyone that cares about you or your content knows that's gonna happen, and it's gonna have to happen so that you can keep pumping out free stuff. That's just part of the process. So, but as far as paid ads on Facebook, I know a lot of people, I always have this personal belief that, you know, people don't need to do ads on themselves, but businesses do. Businesses need to get that reach, and you have to have a strategy, you have to go for the long game, and I would even recommend if you're at that level, that you're ready to go after it, then you probably have to pay someone who is gonna manage that for you.
Totally. It's not you.
We
You
absolutely
should
have
never
to
buy
do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's
You
a-
should hire the people who do that.
It works.
Yeah, and you have to diversify, you can't have just one, you have to have at least
Yeah.
4
Well,
to
because the
5.
second that you buy one, you are now, oh, they want to pay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the BBQs.
Can I add something?
Yes. please.
So this is, like, Bree and I talked about this when we first started in social media. We made a plan, and one of the...
Very loose one, but yes.
Well, I just put her in charge of everything. But-
Go for it.
But as now we do have a brand that we want to represent. And so our original plan of, we don't talk politics, we don't talk religion, we don't talk any hot topics.
No negativity.
And even if somebody gets on our page and throws hate at us over something we did, we just like it and move on. A lot of times your followers will come in and take care of that for you.
Yes, they do.
But your fans will come.
Fans.
Yes,
come in,
fans.
yeah.
Don't get drawn into internet arguments, because it just hurts your brand.
But you can start a few.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. That is 100%, like, if you leave with anything, is training really hard, even if you're just doing a side thing with yourself and maybe it's not your comp team, is train as hard as you can to eliminate the political conversations, even the religion conversations, which I know, like, is sad, but, you know, in order to, if you're trying to link in with big brands, the minute they see one of those things, or smoking weed or cussing. Sometimes people break through and they still get the deals, but it's very rare because they'll just use that excuse. So no, we can't have that guy because.
And even on our personal pages, like
Totally.
this one over here
Yeah.
wants to get political all the time. I'm like, don't you even like that post? Don't even push the like
They
button.
see it. They know. Yeah.
You know that there's other ways to make money in barbecue, right? Not
When?
just.
I know, I feel like we didn't cover
know.
any of those things.
I know.
Exactly, but classes are a big way. Catering is the number one way to make money, for sure. Because we all talk about classes, and I can talk about On Cue. The reason On Cue is so successful for me is because I have this amazing facility and I can accommodate all of that and make it very seamless. And if you're having to rent space, you have to rent all the things that it takes to pull that off. And I have staff, so that is why that works. And I'm totally recognize that I'm really lucky. At the end of the day, when I look at how much money I have left over from all of that, it's not huge. And so all of these things are building blocks. So I'm doing 18 different things to make a living, and 18 different things to support the brand and to be a building block of the brand. Another one of my pet peeves is when someone says, right, I'm not opening my restaurant yet, or I'm not doing this shit, I'm just working on my brand. Well, working on my brand is doing the work. Like those are like fingernails on a chalkboard to me. You have to do the work to have the story to then go and tell the story. And so storytelling is the buzzword right now in how we're all supposed to be marketing ourselves and doing what we're doing. But you have to make sure you do have a story. Everybody has a story, but is your story interesting and compelling and evolving and well articulated? And that is so much harder to do than you think. And it's never, like, nobody really wants to hear your whole story, believe me. They want the highlight reel.
They want the juicy.
They want
nuggets.
they want the failure and the success. So it's never just all up here. So I feel like a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, I'm going to work on my logo. Well, the logo is not going to pay the bills. I've seen some horrible logos of fabulous companies and fabulous barbecue people. It's actually physically going out there and just jumping in and start swimming, and then you will get there. You'll find your group, you'll find your people, you'll find your you'll find your path, you'll find what impassions you.
And fail fast. If it's not going to work, move on.
Oh, here's how you get like affiliate codes and like how that whole kind of process works.
Affiliate codes.
Yes.
I'm married to
Okay.
Well, let me say something about affiliate codes, because I think affiliate codes are really important. And if you are going to be in the New York Times Wirecutter, you have to have an affiliate code for them to, if they're going to put Megan sauce in there, they're expecting a kickback from the sales that come from that cost. And so that means you have to get on the share a sale platform and build that whole thing out and have that code to give to somebody.
Well, I think for me, as looking in the room, it's a pretty mixed group here. So some are kind of in the business a bit. Some of them are like us. We're just competition teams, been at it for a long time. We're kind of like, what's the next step? Where do you go from here? We've kind of done a lot of things, and how do you elevate that up a little bit? So I'm more just curiosity here from more experienced people of what you're doing and how you kind of got into it, is why we came.
I like people who want to give us money. I do. I like it. So I listen. I listen to when someone comes at us and it's like, well, how is this going to be? Is it just product? Is there funding involved? Are you helping us get somewhere? Can we help you get somewhere? Can we help you put you in front of an audience? But ultimately, to fund our lifestyle, this is what we do. So that exposure doesn't pay anything. It doesn't pay the bills, but it can help you get there until that moment comes along. So what are people coming to you? Do they wish they had pig ears? Should you be selling serious?
That would so be your thing.
That's what I mean.
Oh my
It's your
gosh,
thing.
it's so your
And
thing.
what is your thing that other people would jump on? Is it apparel? Is it sauces, another rub and seasoning, right? Is it doing something like gravy that goes on top of the meat? Or I don't know. What is it that you think you could put your heart and soul into and enjoy and make some money at it? If you have a face for radio, what, maybe television's not gonna be your thing, but what is it that really gets you excited? that you think other people would enjoy and maybe pay you for. It's hard for us to turn down catering. But we really don't have the facilities. We haven't invested in that. And I don't want to do it the wrong way. So it's really, really hard. So for us to take the next step of doing something in catering, we're going to have to invest some things to really do it right. Because we have too high of a profile to sneak under the radar. We'll get nailed.
Yeah.
We'll get nailed. So we just don't do it. So we're always even looking for what's next. What's next?
Somebody had a question in the back. Was it you?
Yeah, I'm just curious on like content creation. So, I mean, I scroll TikTok and Instagram all the time, and I feel like I see a lot of creators. They're making a queso dip, they're making a dill pickle dip, they're making a brisket, a spatch pack turkey. Do you feel like your biggest engagement with your group is just sticking kind of the meat and potatoes of barbecue and let's do a brisket? Or do you think that people are appreciating kind of the wild, out of the box recipes?
Well, this is, what do you want to stand for? Or you want to be the brisket king, then all you're going to show is brisket. So
Sure.
it's like, that's a personal thing, I think, and whoever you're trying to attract, what you're trying to do. But for me personally, I like to do it all. I want to try it all. And I might not be the best at it all, but I like to try it all. And a lot of times when you're partnering with brands, they say, oh, Missy, you want like Super Bowl recipes? Like, okay. I know how to do Super Bowl recipes, but at that time I might go and like try like 10 of them and pull something out that's a little different, or maybe it's something that's just a classic that people want to know. What I've learned over the last couple of years is that your audience may not be who you think it is. There's a lot of insights and stats you can look at for age and gender and place of origin and all of this stuff. But when you meet people that have been following you for a long time, like, oh, Misty, it's so good to meet you. I'm like, oh, that's great. I've been making that one berry cobbler from your post 2 years ago, and my family really likes it. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so sweet. It's a sweet little lady that I would never expect to be like my target audience. Most of mine are like middle-aged dudes, and that's what I got. But you don't really know who your audience is. So I think if you want to go and get really ornate and do something super chefy, a lot of you guys like have surprised me over the last couple of years just watching some of these turn-ins. I just can't even believe it. These guys are in hoodies and they got muddy boots and they're like turning out amazing things. You could do those. You could share those, and it'd be really cool for the world to see that there's like a next level chef back there in that tent. Or you could go through the basics, because for me, I wanted to inspire people just to try it. Not necessarily to compete, but let's buy some meat and go smoke it and try it.
I think too, like you kind of find it as you're going through it. So like start off one way and then maybe try a few videos off the meat trail and then see, does that feel good? Does that feel right? What kind of response are you getting when you put those up? Are they liking it because it's different? And maybe you could sandwich those in with the meat, or maybe they're like, hey, where's the beef? Like we want to see more of that. We don't want to see the cheese dip.
You can always archive or delete.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to keep every single piece of content that you ever post live and
delete
viewable.
it.
Well, you know what I mean. Archive it.
Instagram is.
But I think once people find you, they want to see how you do the pickle dip. They do. They want to see how you do what you do.
What's the Jordan spin on it? That's what they want to
They
know.
want the
Which Jordan did different?
They also, like, just putting on a hat for my past just putting on a hat for my past marketing world. I was the copy director for a group of women's clothing catalogs, and one of them was called The Very Thing. And it was what your 80-year-old grandmother in Palm Beach would wear. But the models were 20, and the styling was for 20. But nobody who was 20 was buying any of these clothes. But I think we all tend to think about our audience as people like us, but you have to be constantly shooting for a younger audience, because those are the people who are buying, your people are gonna die. And so you have to have that new group of people coming up constantly. You're targeting here, it's still appealing over here, but you've got to be appealing to new audiences all the time. And so that new audience isn't necessarily younger, I'm using age, but it could be females, it could be, Chinese food enthusiasts, whatever that audience is. But if you're marketing only to who you think your audience is right now, you're gonna start trailing off.
And I hope,
constantly get new people.
I hope as a collection in this room, we're willing to be stewards of this industry and this sport to try to get more people to come do the sport. Like, right, like, amen, like, let's try to get some more people in the sport.
Totally. That, you
And
know,
that's to
contests,
Misty's point of
think about
saying,
that.
you know,
That's
just
right. That's
like
right.
how you pack your trailer is fascinating to people,
Yeah.
whatever.
It is.
And lets people know they can do it too.
Yes. So, and don't be afraid to follow trends, even though it's annoying when you see it like post after post. You're like, oh gosh, everyone's doing this one thing. Don't be afraid just to try it, because like she said, like they might want to see you doing it, and you know that hashtag must be working right now, and that theme, that recipe must be what's going on. You know, the
You wanna
Dubai
play the game?
chocolate, like whatever
Or do you
those
wanna-
things are.
Well, it's like the shotgun
Yeah.
shells, the armadillo
Yeah,
eggs,
don't be
like
afraid to
there,
have
you
fun.
see the different
Yeah.
trends of people making different things. And
Yeah.
I guess one other thing, so I'm fairly busy. What type of time demand is it for you to, so say you post, I don't know what you post, but if you post a video a week, 2 videos a week, is it?
Then that's gonna go back to like, what are you doing this for? You
I
know?
guess what I'm asking is.
For me?
So for you, so if you post I don't know, if you post a video a week,
Yeah.
what kind of time demand is that for you?
A video to be able to film it and edit and
Right.
post and create the caption. I don't know. I usually give myself a day to a day and a half to do an actual. So if I'm thinking about like I need to get paid, I need to think about a whole day's pay plus a half. You know, and I don't use AI. I'm just like putting together things. And if I am working with a brand, sometimes there's a lot of back and forth on approving what I'm going to do. It's to what I thought I was going to do. If the music isn't right, go fix it. Like there's sometimes I had no idea what I was getting into once I started monetizing with some of the brands and their demands. So sometimes
The pay doesn't end up being that
no,
much.
no. Then you're like,
Against
no,
the
I've had to
time.
do this 3 times. I've had to fix it.
But
I didn't like how I
the
said this word.
edification
Yeah.
of
You
you
learn.
as an expert
Yeah.
is
That's good, yeah,
Right.
because then you go do it for yourself and you're like, okay,
And then you
I
know
understand
to
the system.
negotiate better the next time,
Yeah.
and you know to
100%.
a lot more time the
Yeah.
next
that
time.
what you keep
Yeah.
is really little.
Yeah,
But
but if
you
you're
do a lot
doing
of
it-
those little things.
Yeah, but if you're doing it, you post, and then you are gonna be online engaging hopefully for the next 15 to 20 minutes once you post, so that kind of fires
Bumps it.
up the algorithm. And then you just hope for the best and go back. And another strategy is after you post, the next time you don't like and heart everything immediately in that, with their comments, but then the next time you post, you go back to the previous post, and then you go like with those hearts into the previous post, so that whoever commented last time gets a notification that, hey, guess what, she
They have
just
another one.
posted again.
It's delayed.
And answer your comments.
That's familiar, I like that one.
Send your make sure that you're engaging with all those people who are commenting.
And I heard recently, a send is more important than a save. Have you heard that? That's the new
Sharing,
thing? So
sharing.
the little, well, yeah, the little airplane where you send it to other people and you're sharing it is more important than people who are like saving it to their favorites. Like it's,
Because it keeps them on a platform
Yes.
longer.
Yes.
And it introduces more
yes.
people to Canada.
So, I mean, if you're posting something, send it to me. I don't care, send it to me.
Yeah, that's another thing that's really important. If you really care about your friends in the barbecue world and they're like your fam and you're trying to help them grow their presence, the more you interact on their page, even if it's just like emojis, like just do something, you can help them get more visibility with a couple minutes. If I thought about all like my friends, there's a lot of posts about this. They say if they're really your friends, are they stopping by to say, hey, nice job, or interacting with your post? So every once in a while I hit up my high school friends. I'm like, you guys know I do this. Like, how come I don't see you in there?
Yeah.
You know, and so it's like getting your barbecue family also to support you. And these are kind of like nixed a long time ago, but I think it's back. There's also what we would call a boost group. And so they're still active. And honestly, like some of the people I see them are some of the top performing barbecue people out there that are not competition people, but they're creators, top in terms of followership. And, you know, there's probably up to 30 people in a group. So all it is a chat group. And then whenever you post for the day, you share your post in there and everyone in that group sees that you shared a post. And they can make the choice to interact to support you or not. You know, but it's a great way if you're trying to get your friends to help you and you want to help them. The only danger in that is you feel pressure to, oh my gosh, Amy posted, I gotta make sure on my break today I say, good job, Amy. You know, it's sort of a mental stress. But during COVID, when everyone was just chilling, like that was the best time to be able to help each other out.
It has to be
It has to be what?
Has to
It
be
has to
three
be
words.
3 words, or else they can't get paid. So give them a
So don't give them
3-word
3
comment.
hearts and say, this is great.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, anything else? Well, thank you guys so much for everything.